Hi, I'm Chris, and this is Business Over Brews, and I'm excited because for our first episode, I'm bringing in a very special guest, Lauren Mead. Lauren is the VP of Marketing at HQO, and in today's episode, I'm going to be interviewing her about her climb up the ladder from event coordination all the way up to being a shot caller as a VP of Marketing. Stay tuned. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining our very first episode of Business Over Brews. And I'm really excited, not just because it's the first episode, but because I feel like there's a very special guest on. She is the VP of Marketing at HQO. Her name is Lauren Mead. We worked together for about 3.5 years. And honestly, I can say that the reason why I'm here today producing this episode is because of her. If it wasn't for her and us putting together unmissed connections before, there's no way I would have the experience to get something like this together in a remote scenario. Lauren, thank you so much for joining today on our first episode.
Thanks for having me. It's great to get the band back together.
I know. I hope that we get to have a couple more episodes like this. So we're going to be talking about a few topics. But first, what I've always wanted to know, I mean, you're a marketing executive, you're a VP of marketing, you're very young, and I'd love to hear the story of how you built your career to become a marketing thought leader, a marketing executive. But before we get into that, we have to talk about what we're drinking. Because I know for my first episode, the first beer I first started legally drinking, because my birthday's in October, was Sam Oktoberfest. So I have to start this channel off with the Oktoberfest. So what did you bring on today?
So I have been drinking more coffee than beer these days. However, we're filming at 8:30 at night, so there will be no coffee for me right now. So I went with a night shift Vic Secret.
Not bad.
This is the first time I've had this. My husband is a beer connoisseur in the house, so he does like the selecting and I do the drinking. Awesome. And it's really good. I already cracked into it.
Thumbs up, you'd buy more of them. Would
recommend.
What percentage alcohol are those? I think these ones are a little light. These are 5.3, so not bad. Reasonable.
Let me see what I got here. This is 6%, so I may be a little feeling it by the end.
We might coast that one out through the entirety of the episode. We'll see how it goes. Yeah. But again, I wanted to bring you on. The first thing I wanted to ask you is, again, you've had a phenomenal career, and it's really just even in the beginning of this, and I'd love to ask how it all started. I mean, I would assume that 6-year-old Lauren didn't turn around and say, I want to be a marketing professional, a marketing executive. When I was 5 or 6, I wanted to be a truck for all I knew. So at what point did you really start to figure out, marketing and becoming this leader is something you wanted to strive for?
Like you said, I wish I could say it was like within the grand plan, but I think I kind of, in a way, stumbled upon it. I knew, I guess, starting out, I did go into my undergrad and I declared a marketing major early on. So I knew I wanted to do marketing. I would say at that point in my career, though, I didn't even know what marketing was really. I wanted to be an event planner, and I knew the corporate side of events, and that really resided under marketing. And I was interested in something that kind of took the creative element of business. So that I think was what attracted me to marketing. But the more I learned and the more opportunities I got within it, I just learned so much more that I liked about it. I've said this before, but I think if you had told me I would work in technology, I probably would have laughed at you. I never really considered myself a tech savvy person, but I have spent my entire career in tech marketing and I love it. I love this space. I think it's so fast moving, and I love, I've always chosen to work at companies that provide business applications that help people as well. So not super techy products, but it really helps you apply technology to human elements and human problems within the world, which I've really liked. In terms of how I got into leadership position, like I said, I think I just, was just as my career evolved, I had the, great fortune to work at some fast growing companies. And as the company grew, I was able to take on more and more responsibility, build teams, try out all different areas within marketing. And I think that attitude and just saying like yes to when things got thrown on my plate is really kind of what got me here today.
Sure. And it's funny because, not a lot of people confuse, growing into the top level of the marketing leadership as the ladder to success directly. I mean, there's plenty of people that like to focus on, specific niches. If they're in digital specifically, like you said, you were starting out in event planning and coordination, there's a lot of lucrative and successful ways to build a successful career just on a facet or a certain branch of marketing. But like you said, at some point, there was a point where you just pivoted and you knew you were ready to move into, or I mean, theoretically, I feel like almost no one knows they're ready to move, just like becoming a parent. You don't know you're ready to be a parent. You think you are, and it just happens. Was there a point where you just said, I'm ready for this and I'm moving forward? Or like you said, as these companies grew, was it they had a need, you stepped forward, even though it was scary at times, and just delivered? Or did you know right then and there, this is what I was meant to do?
No, I think it kind of like snuck up on me a little bit, right? So like I started out doing a lot in events, and then they would like throw on like webinars or other lead gen type of things. And then all of a sudden it was like, okay, how about you take on the BDR team too? And then, I expressed I really like marketing automation and the measurement side of things. So there was like times where I was like, hey, maybe we should like look into new systems. And all of a sudden I own that. So it slowly like evolved. I think there was definitely points where I was like, wow, I own the website. I have no idea what I'm doing. But, I think just like learning, being curious, like, leveraging different resources and experts in my area, I was able to kind of learn and leverage people smarter than myself in those particular areas to help make sure we're doing the best we can. So it's just about asking smart questions and using smart people to make sure we are covering all our areas.
Sure. Now, a kind of off-topic question, still on the realm though, but there's a huge step, not only in when you own a lot of responsibilities when it comes to the different departments of the organization, but the change happens very drastically when you start managing and you are responsible for people's promotions, demotions, and salaries. And I know that step has to be absolutely massive. So when taking that step, what were kind of your reservations? Were you excited about it? Did you feel more like a people person that worked well with folks, or were you a lot more effective as an individual contributor that then found that you had to grow this skill of people management?
I think I definitely had to grow the skill a little bit. I think myself, like what you see, like a lot of first-time managers, like learning the act of delegation is something that doesn't necessarily come naturally, and like finding that balance. Yeah, it's I think it's hard. Like you especially as a new manager, you don't want to like put too much on other people, and you want to like be helping out, but at the same time, you can't be successful. Your team can't be successful if you're taking on too much. So I think that was like a huge learning, curve for me coming up. And I think it's something, I still struggle with all the time. You want to like provide the right balance of like, how do you help out? And especially working at a lot of small companies, you have to kind of be a hands-on leader and jump in where needed. So it's like knowing the right times to do that and when not to do that, because you're going to be a micromanager to people or not let them kind of own their space. I think that was a big curve. I think like I'm a pretty direct communicator. So like I
would agree.
Yeah. For me, like I have to almost like, even though I thinking in my head, like, wow, that person did a great job or whatever, I'm like already on to the next thing. So for me, sometimes it's like a conscious effort where I have to be like, wow, like great job on this, or provide positive feedback. Cause to me, it's like, if you haven't heard from me, that it means it's good, but that's not how I feel like a lot of people learn. So I think I've also learned a lot to, and again, I'm still developing this all the time, as like most people are. I was like, learn the different styles of the people on your team and how you can best support them in their individual growth and the communication styles that they need to be successful with their manager.
No, that's one of the, I feel like that's the one part where you'll see a lot of companies will promote someone who is being successful and they move from that individual contributor role, which they're very good at, into something that involves that plus managing direct reports. And there's such a different skill set you need in somebody that can, one, manage expectations, be friendly, still be direct, and still get results while driving that team and maintaining your own deliverables that you're responsible for. It's a balance that I hope at one point I'll figure out, but it's something that I will say working under you has been absolutely fantastic, but we can always leave that to the next question. But what I did want to move on to next is everyone hits setbacks when they're going through their careers, whether they move to a job they shouldn't have, whether things personally come up where it kind of puts your career on pause, you personally feel like you're stuck, even people that seem to not be rooting or fighting for you, again, being your age, being a woman, a lot of folks in these fields, even my wife being as young as she is, being a vice principal at a school, hearing the stories she's experienced just because of people that have been in their position for so long and don't expect to hear something from someone so young or are certainly set in their ways. It causes a lot of frustration, it causes these setbacks, and it causes a lot of self-doubt in the person themselves, which triggers even imposter syndrome. What kind of things have you run in? If you're willing to share, what kind of things have you run into? And what would you recommend to folks that are watching this now, coming out of school, expecting what they're going to hear and how they might want to overcome things like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the common thing, right, like you hear about like women stereotypically, and I feel about myself is I feel like they tend to like underestimate themselves. Like I think, I don't know the exact numbers, but they say like a man reads a job description and if they can do like 20% of the job, they think they're qualified. And if a woman reads it and they can't do 80%, they say they're unqualified. So I think you always like doubt yourself in going into new situations and taking on more responsibility and say like, can I do this? Like you're obviously unsure. You don't want to take a leap that might not be successful. So it's hard. I mean, I think when I've looked at, different roles, it can be hard to like sell yourself to get to that next step. I feel like so often when you're interviewing for a potential job, like they want someone who's been there and done that. And I think it can be frustrating when you're trying to take that next step if you don't have that experience, but you're kind of ready to take that move. I think I've seen that, I just did, a job change fairly recently and really trying to find that right balance of like taking the next challenge, but, not getting out over your skis and positioning yourself. I think that can be really hard. I know. So that's, it happened to me actually at a previous job. I was up for a promotion. I had to interview for the position internally against the executive team. They had me do a presentation to the executives about, what I would do within that role. And I ultimately didn't get the position. I decided to stay with the company and I actually was able to grow my experience and learn under a new leader, which eventually I think was a great opportunity for me. But, I think a lot of people in that position will be like, wow, like I didn't get the job, I'm out of here. And, I think one of the things that's helped me be successful in my role is like I've really committed to a lot of the positions in the companies I've been in. I think there's certainly a time and a place where like there's a benefit to changing roles and that can help you get to the next level. Sometimes you cap out at a current company or they have trouble seeing you take that next position, even if you are ultimately ready. So I think knowing yourself and really trying to weigh the benefits can ultimately be very beneficial. I'm glad I stuck around for a while because I did learn a lot. And then ultimately I did move on and it just helped me better prepare me to take that next jump in my career.
Nice. I don't know if I could imagine actually interviewing for another role at the company I work at. And I know it's a common thing to have happen. It's going to be weird to sit down with the people and explain something that you are, it just seems like a strange process to go through because you're supposed to be talking to them like you are brand new applying for the job. But the last question I was going to ask on the topic, and we sort of touched on it about what you'd recommend folks to do, but someone looking to get into marketing, granted, a lot of people don't even realize they're looking to get into marketing. Some folks just go to get their undergrad and they focus on business because business has such a wide spectrum versus something that's a little focused. Someone who's looking to become, a marketing leader, what would you recommend for a path for them to take? Do they go a creative role? Do they go an analytical role? What would you recommend would be the best steps for them to actually start pursuing that career?
It's actually great that I think you see now in marketing that marketing leaders have come from so many different disciplines within marketing that I think you don't necessarily have to choose one path to ultimately get you to that leadership or more generalist type of role. I know peers that have come from more of a creative angle, owning brand. I know people that have come from product marketing and really knowing the product and product-led growth. I know people I came through the demand gen side of things. So I know more growth and data and operations. It's really kind of where I came up in marketing, but I don't think there's one right way. As I touched on before, I think try to learn as much of the different areas as you can, say yes to new responsibilities, because ultimately, even if you haven't done everything, the more familiar you are with every different area, you're ultimately going to have to manage that and help give direction to those people. And then when you get to that position, hire strong in the places that you're weak, right? Don't be hesitant or fearful of hiring people that are better at something than you, because ultimately it's the team that you build that's going to, make you successful. So just know your strengths, know your weaknesses, and build a team that complements that.
Nope, it's a great point. Although I'd have to say, I guess if there was one career path I'd suggest not going in, it would be finance. They just don't make great marketers. Sorry, Sean. I'm just kidding. That's a poor form joke. But Lauren, this has been absolutely fantastic, and I'd love to take a quick break before we get into our second part, which is, like you mentioned before, you moved into a new role in the middle of COVID. There's a ton of people out there, myself included, that have had to look for new work. It's been absolutely insane. So when we come back, we're going to talk about what it's like looking for leadership roles in marketing in the middle of a pandemic. This episode is sponsored by Mead. I sponsored this episode because I paid for everything. I paid for that lamp. I paid for that camera. I paid for that tripod. I paid for this fill light. I paid for this laptop. I paid for this microphone. I might have actually stolen the microphone. Every penny I save goes into this channel. All right, why is every light on in this house? We're not made of money here, people. So please help me out and subscribe to the channel. 71, not a chance. Look, every facet of this channel is financed through my own pocket. So every subscribe, like, and comment I personally appreciate, and I will reply to. So please subscribe and help me out. Appreciate it. Listen, people, we are not made of money. If you are cold, put on a sweater.